MMA Oddsbreaker, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Frank Trigg. That is Jason Zentgraf. Get ready to fight here in MFC. May 10th up there in Edmonton, Canada. You're battling against Luke Harris, correct?
Yep, Luke Harris.
Okay. Explain to us. Well, explain to me how you see Luke Harris's style from the tapes that you've been watching.
Well, Luke Harris is very good at judo, jiu-jitsu. He's got a black belt in both. Um, he's not very explosive, but he's got very good technique and he's very strong. Um, yeah, and his striking's pretty weak. You know, his chin's suspect, but yeah, he's a tough guy, and I'm hoping to be able to stand up with him and put him on his butt.
I'm looking at your record. You're 7-1, and it's the first time in a long time I'm actually looking at something and I see nothing but victories via submissions.
Yeah,
Your one loss is by decision, but you've got 7 submissions out of all 7 victories. And it's not just you're not getting like one thing like Ronda Rousey always gets the armbar. You're getting arm bars, rear naked chokes, triangle chokes. You're really hitting through a bunch of different techniques. Obviously, the way you think you're going to finish Luke Harris is some kind of submission as well, because that's how you win all of your fights. Is it because that you're just so high level in jiu-jitsu that's the way you get your finishes, or is it because no one has had enough time to really see your stand-up game yet?
I think it's definitely that. I mean, if you watch some of my amateur fights, I've had 8, or if you watch some of my earlier pro fights, you can see a lot of my striking. But at my 2 fights in the MFC, all you really see is my first fight against Cody. He's really aggressive, just lets loose, doesn't have much technique, and he just starts swinging. I catch him with one hook, with a lead hook, backing up and put him down. So I got a lot of power, but you haven't really seen it. You know, against Clay in my last fight, he just wanted to clinch with me. He'd throw a haymaker and clinch with me. So not many people have seen it, and I'm very comfortable with my jiu-jitsu. Like you said, all my wins are submissions. Um, but yeah, obviously he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Robert Drysdale, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys out there. So I'm not going to try to take it to the ground necessarily unless I think that's a great idea. I think I'm going to try and capitalize on his weakness, which is his striking.
And Luke is. I see him. I live in Vegas too, and so I see him running around quite a bit. And I do see. I have been in the same place training at the same time he has, but he and I have never trained together. But he doesn't seem to have a high level of jiu-jitsu, but that doesn't always necessarily translate into MMA, does it? Like a lot of guys that have high level jiu-jitsu all of a sudden aren't very good MMA fighters.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is a lot different when you start getting punched in the face.
The easiest way for me to ever defend against an armbar was just to start punching a guy in the head, and eventually he just lets go of your arm and he gives it back to you.
Yeah.
So
With a knee in their throat or something.
exactly, put a knee across their face and punch them a little bit, and they let go of it, and you can and then at that point you've already passed. So it makes it very easy at that point. You've already got past their guard. Now, what was your amateur career? You said you had about 8 amateur fights. What was your amateur record?
I was 8-0 all finishes.
And did you fight? Where did you fight most of those at when you were?
I fought about 3 or 4 fights over in Seattle, and then the rest, I think, we're all here in Montana.
Okay. Now, where are you training at in Montana?
I actually just switched gyms. There was kind of a conflict I won't get too deep into, but yeah, it just had to do with payment. And now I'm training at the Dog Pound here in Missoula, Montana.
Who the head coaches over there?
Matt Powers is the head coach. Uh, and one of the guys who I trained with, Lloyd Woodard, he's fighting for Bellator. I'm sure you know Cupcake.
Yeah.
He's loud.
Yep.
He gets a lot of attention.
I've interviewed him a couple times for also here for Oddsbreaker for his fights up there when he was fighting for Bellator. So yeah, I'm familiar with him. I didn't realize you guys are the same place.
Yeah. There's a lot of tough guys there. I'm more comfortable here. There's a lot better wrestling and jiu-jitsu at the Dog Pound where I'm at now than my old place. But my old coach was national ranked Muay Thai fighter from in Japan. That is not here in the States. And I'm missing him coaching me on my kicks, but I'm a lot more comfortable with all the jiu-jitsu and wrestling that I'm getting right now. So I think it's for the better.
Now this fight against Luke Harris, Scott Zier was trying to tell me there's a little back and forth going between you two verbally. Can you enlighten me on that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. It's no Chael Sonnen or anything like that, but he
Come on,
just
let's be honest. No one's Chael Sonnen. That you have to take him out of the anomaly, and then everybody else kind of fights for number 2. So it's okay to be no Chael Sonnen in this.
All right, thanks. Yeah, he just said a few things. That didn't necessarily rub me the wrong way, but my ego kind of told me I should say something back. He said that I wasn't in the same ballpark as far as jujitsu or his grappling level, and I think I am. I would give him the edge. Obviously, he's a black belt, and I stopped trying to get belted in jiu-jitsu because it just took too much time away from my submission grappling. We don't have any belting system for submission grappling here. I was going through Grandmaster Flavio Bearing, and I got up to like my second or third stripe on my blue belt, and this was a while ago, and I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. I was tapping out purple brown belts fairly easy. Well, purple belts that way, pretty easily, and then the brown belts and going against some black belts, and I just felt like it just wasn't fair. And he really stresses that you need to work your way up, even if you can tap brown or black belts. You start at white, you get your 4 stripes, then you get your blue, which I respect. I'm not going to be the one to step in there and be like, I need my purple belt right now. That's not my style. I got a lot of respect for the guy, but it was just too much of a time commitment. And, it was a lot of self-defense as well. So technically I'm only a blue belt.
Okay, it's the same. I got pro belt in jiu-jitsu, but then I left and went on to catch wrestling and got my black belt just recently in catch wrestling. And it's just one of those things that, you have to find a thing and the style that fits for you the best. Just like moving gyms, you feel more comfortable with dog pound, you did at your other gym, and that's just kind of how it works out. Do you notice a difference during training camp now that you're at dog pound and feel more comfortable with your gym? How much better the practices are and how much better you're getting every week during a training camp?
Yeah, there's a lot more guys my size there. I mean, aside from one of my training partners at my old gym who it was about 320 pounds at the time, he actually switched over more or less. He's training at both places, but he's training with me as well, so I still have him. But there was nobody my size, and I'm only 220, right now, about 215. So, now at the dog pound, there's a couple guys who are, bigger than me and can really squash me and sit on top of me, which I need. I can't, go in there against Luke Harris, who's a big guy and he's strong, and have the mentality that I can, throw these guys who are smaller than me around. So
take me through take me through a regular training day, like in the beginning of your training camp. Like, kind of what's your training like in the mornings and afternoons?
Well, I'm also a personal trainer, so I teach a box fit class. I also work one-on-one with clients, so it really depends on the day, but usually I'll teach an hour-long box fit class, which is like 3-minute rounds of striking on the bags with a 1-minute active rest. So I'll do that with the class, then afterwards I usually alternate my grappling and my striking, and I'll do anywhere from 5-minute rounds to preferably 8 5-minute rounds, changing up my combos, working, isolating upper body, lower body, to make sure I don't leave anything out. And then when we get to practice, when it gets close to fight, there's less technique and it's more just live rolling, live sparring, and it's really intense. It's a lot higher pace at the dog pound than I'm used to. So there's a lot more blood flying and a couple people getting cuts, and so yeah, it's more intense, and I like it more. It pushes your cardio in that aspect, and then afterwards, I usually come back 3 hours later and do anything from a power circuit to hill sprints, Harley Max tests, things like that.
You don't, at least from your face, I can't tell. You don't look like you have any cuts or anything, so you seem to survive pretty well through training camp. Was it difficult trying not to get hurt during training camp at that kind of pace?
Not really. At the risk of sounding cocky, I don't really get hit that much in training because I'm very elusive. I use my torso rather than just head movement, so I move in and out and side to side, and I can usually avoid a lot of damage even against guys like Lloyd. They have a really hard time hitting me. They'll beat up my stomach and my lower body sometimes, but my moneymaker's still good, so good there.
Good work. All right, well, thanks for coming out here, Jason, with us. We really appreciate you taking some time on a Sunday to come hang out with us. Just 2 more questions before I let you go. When you make weight, you're fighting on May 10th, and you got to make weight May 9th. When you wake up that morning, what do you weigh? You said you weigh about 215 right now, but what are you going to weigh the morning of the weigh-ins?
Morning of the weigh-ins, if I do my diet correctly, I should be within, at the most 10 pounds out, but usually about 7 or 8. And then I just cut that in the sauna. A lot of people like to, keep their nutrition up and cut a lot of weight in the sauna. And I know there's a bunch of theories out there, but I just feel like if I cut a lot of weight in the sauna, if I get hit in the head, I feel it a lot more. You see a lot of the old boxers when they started cutting weight to make the weight, it'd only be 20 pounds lighter, but then they start getting knocked out more, even though they're smaller guys. And I really believe that when you cut weight a lot in the sauna like that, you can lose some of the water in your cerebral spinal fluid that's in your brain. But it hasn't been proven. That's what I feel, and I feel more comfortable when I cut weight over the week. I decrease my water intake down to 0.25 gallons, and then no water the day of weigh-ins. I do the same thing with my carbohydrates, no more than 50, and a couple other techniques, and it's worked well for me in the past. My last fight, I cut like 55 pounds because I had a stage 1 tear in my LCL, lateral collateral ligament in my right knee, so I couldn't even run. And by the time I was able to run, I was like 3 weeks out, and I'd cut probably 20 pounds by then, but then I still had 35 pounds to cut, and it was bad. I mean, I even got interviewed, and they were like, "Yeah, all the other fighters said that you looked like shit when you were lying on the ground." Like I was just lying there with a cup of water and an empty cup that I'd swish and spit into, praying that I was next for the weigh-ins. And that was terrible. I've never had a weight cut like that. I've always been very comfortable. So yeah, this one should be better though.
What do you do to rehydrate after you make weight? Like, do you are you a guy that has to drink a bunch and you go eat later? Do you have to eat right away? Do you do IV bags? Like, what's your recovery?
Man, I wish I could do an IV bag. That would be excellent. But what I usually do is I have Pedialyte, a little bit of salt water, get the electrolytes in me so I don't get hyponatremic, and then I have about a liter an hour because your body can't take in more than that, and it still loses like 20% of that liter. And so I try to drink 1 liter per hour and try to pace it like that. It's very hard when you're that thirsty. And then, I just keep doing it all the way up to the fight until I feel really comfortable.
Good, man. Jason, thanks for coming out here. I really appreciate it. Good luck on May 10th up there in Edmonton, Canada, MFC against Luke Harris. And I'll be at home watching, but I'll definitely check you out on your next fight.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Frank.
Take care, bud.
Yeah, you too.